My name is Ruth Eleanor Grayson, and 3 months ago my own children buried me while I was still breathing. I know how that sounds. People think death certificates are sacred, that once the state stamps you deceased, the story is over. But paper lies when greedy hands hold the pen, and I learned that the hard way at the age of 82, flat on my back in a nursing home bed with nothing but a hospital gown, a plastic wristband, and a heart that refused to quit. It started with the stroke. 1 minute I was shelling peas on the back porch of the farmhouse my husband Roy and I paid off in 1978. The next minute the world tilted sideways and the bowl slipped from my lap like the Lord himself had snatched it away. By the time the ambulance got there I couldn't move the whole right side of my body and my words came out thick as sorghum. My daughter Karen and my son David stood over me in the ER looking more inconvenienced than scared. "Mom, we're going to put you in Cedar Ridge for rehab," Karen said, already scrolling on her phone. "It's the best place. Insurance covers most of it." David nodded, eyes on his watch. "We'll handle everything at the house. Don't worry about a thing." I should have known then. Worry was exactly what I should have done. Cedar Ridge smelled like bleach and canned peas. The first 2 weeks were honest work. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, learning to button a shirt with one hand. I hated every minute, but I was getting stronger. I could feel it. I started dreaming about my kitchen again, about the smell of Roy's coffee, about the way the floorboards creaked in the exact same spot they had for 60 years. Then one Tuesday the physical therapist didn't show up. The nurse said my insurance had maxed out benefits. I called Karen. No answer. I called David. Straight to voicemail. I asked to use the facility phone to call my lawyer, Mr. Timmons, who'd handled Roy's estate. The receptionist smiled too wide and said, "Family has requested no outside calls, Mrs. Grayson. Doctor's orders. You need rest." Rest. That was the first time I smelled something rotten. 2 days later, a woman in a navy suit came into my room with a clipboard and a smile sharp enough to shave with. She introduced herself as Mrs. Lang from the funeral home. "I just need you to confirm a few details for the pre-arrangement your children made," she said, pulling out a thick folder. "Karen and David have been so thoughtful. They've chosen the mahogany casket with the ivory lining, the plot right next to Roy, and the hymn How Great Thou Art. They even paid in full." I stared at her. My mouth opened and closed like a fish on a dock. "I'm not dead," I finally croaked. Mrs. Lang's smile didn't waver. "Of course not, dear. This is just pre-planning. Very common." But the paperwork in her hand had a death certificate clipped to it. My name, my birthday, date of death left blank, but the box marked expected within 30 days was checked in red ink. I started yelling. A nurse came running, gave me a shot that turned the walls to syrup, and when I woke up the folder was gone and so was Mrs. Lang. That night I cried for the first time since Roy died. Not because I was scared of dying. I'd made peace with that years ago. I cried because I understood. My children weren't waiting for me to get better. They were waiting for me to finish dying so they could cash the policies Roy and I took out in 1965. Back when $1 million sounded like all the money in the world. I stopped eating the pudding they brought. I hid the pills under my tongue and spit them in the toilet. I needed my mind clear. I needed a plan. Help came wearing purple scrubs and smelled like cinnamon gum. Lila was 24, night shift aide, studying nursing at the community college. She had kind eyes and a tongue stud that clicked when she was thinking. One night she caught me trying to drag myself out of bed with the walker. "Miss Ruth, you're gonna fall and break a hip," she whispered. "I'm already broken, baby," I told her. "But I'm not staying broken." She looked at me a long time. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a postcard. One of those cheap ones you buy at the drugstore with a picture of a lighthouse. On the back she had written her home address in purple ink. "If you ever need to get out of here and nobody will listen," she said, "send this to yourself. I'll come get you. No questions." I tucked it under my mattress like it was the last bullet in the world. The next morning they moved me to the Memory Care wing. Said I was confused and agitated. The new room had bars on the windows and a camera in the corner. My phone was gone. My clothes were gone. All I had left was the hospital gown and Lila's postcard. On the 20th day, I heard Karen's voice in the hallway. "She's not going to last much longer," she told the administrator. "Just keep her comfortable. We've already filed the paperwork with the insurance. As soon as the doctor signs, we can move forward." I waited until 2 a.m. lights out. The hallway quiet except for the hum of machines. I pulled myself into the wheelchair they kept in the corner, wrapped Lila's postcard in a Kleenex, and wrote on the back with the eyebrow pencil I'd stolen from another resident. Lila, they are killing me with kindness. I am at Cedar Ridge, room 214. Come tonight or I will be gone by morning. Ruth Grayson. I rolled myself to the nurse's station. The night clerk was asleep with her head on the desk. I slipped the postcard into the outgoing mail basket, right on top. Then I rolled back to my room, pulled the blanket over my head, and prayed for the first time in 20 years. Lila came at 4:17 a.m. She had a laundry cart and a spare uniform. She wheeled me out through the service entrance like I was a stack of dirty sheets. Nobody stopped us. The security guard was watching TikTok. She drove an old Honda Civic with a cracked windshield and a pine tree air freshener. We didn't speak until we were 20 miles away. Where to, Miss Ruth? Home, I said. But first the courthouse. She looked at me like I was crazy. Maybe I was. The county courthouse opened at 8. I hadn't seen daylight in weeks. The sun hit my face like a slap and a kiss at the same time. Lila pushed me up the ramp in the same wheelchair I'd stolen from Cedar Ridge. My legs dangled like a rag doll's, but my mind was sharp as January ice. The clerk at the probate counter was a girl I used to teach in Sunday school 40 years ago. Her mouth fell open when she saw me. Miss Ruth, we thought we had a funeral. I noticed, I said. That's why I'm here. I need to file an emergency petition to contest my own death. She blinked twice, then ran for the judge. Judge Marjorie Hale was 70 if she was a day, hair the color of steel wool and eyes that had seen every kind of sorry in the county. She took one look at me sitting there in a stolen wheelchair, hospital gown peeking out under Lila's jacket, and waved us straight into chambers. Mrs. Grayson, she said, you have 10 minutes to convince me you're not a ghost. I told her everything. Lila stood behind me like a purple-clad bodyguard. When I finished, the judge didn't speak for a long time. Then she picked up the phone. Get me the state insurance commissioner, the attorney general, and somebody from the DA's office. And tell security nobody leaves this building until I say so. Karen and David were brought in at 10:42 a.m. They walked into the courtroom expecting a quiet probate hearing to collect their money. Instead, they found me sitting at the petitioner's table next to a court-appointed lawyer, alive and furious. Karen went white as milk. David actually took a step back like he'd seen the devil. Mother, he whispered. In the flesh, I said. Flesh you tried to bury 3 weeks early. The next 6 hours were a blur of documents and tears and lies unraveling like a cheap sweater. My children had filed a death certificate signed by a doctor who'd been on vacation in Cancun for 2 weeks. They'd held a memorial service, closed casket, of course, and collected over $1.4 million in life insurance proceeds. They'd already put the farmhouse on the market. The real estate sign was pounded into my front lawn the day after they buried me. Judge Hale didn't yell. She didn't need to. She just read the charges aloud in a voice calm as a winter morning. Insurance fraud. Filing a false instrument. Elder abuse. Conspiracy to commit murder for financial gain. They dropped that one later, but it hung in the air like smoke. Karen sobbed the whole time. David stared at the floor. When the bailiff started cuffing them, Karen looked at me and screamed, "You were supposed to die." It would have been easier for everyone. The courtroom went dead quiet. I rolled my wheelchair forward until I was close enough to smell her perfume. The same one I bought her for Christmas. "Baby," I said softly, "easier is not the same as right." They took my children away in handcuffs. The cameras outside were already waiting. Someone had tipped off the news. By nightfall, I was trending on every platform with the hashtag #NotDeadYet. The insurance company cut a check the next day for every penny plus interest and penalties. The farmhouse came off the market. Lila moved into the spare bedroom and finished nursing school while taking care of me. My right hand still doesn't work perfect, but I can shell peas again. I can sign my own name. I can rock on my own porch and watch the sun set over land that still belongs to me. Sometimes people drive by slow, hoping to catch a glimpse of the woman who rose from the dead. I just wave. Let them look. I earned every stare. Karen and David took a plea. 5 years each, out in 3 with good behavior. They send letters sometimes. I don't open them. Some things are better left buried. Last week a lady from the city came out with a film crew. Wanted to make a movie about my story. I told her no thank you. My life is not entertainment. It's a warning. I keep Lila's postcard in a frame above the fireplace. On the back, in purple ink, she wrote a second note after it was all over. You weren't just alive, Miss Ruth. You were unstoppable. Every evening I sit in Roy's old rocking chair, the one that faces the fields we worked together for 52 years. The wind moves through the corn like it always has, whispering the same secrets it whispered when we were young and broke and thought love was enough to pay the bills. It was. Love didn't keep me breathing those nights in Cedar Ridge. Love didn't push that wheelchair down the hallway. Love didn't stare down a judge and two lying children and refuse to blink. But grit did. And truth. And a 24-year-old girl with a tongue stud who believed an old woman still had a story worth saving. I am 82 years old, half paralyzed, widowed, and richer than I ever thought possible, not because of the insurance money, but because I know exactly who I am when everything is stripped away. They tried to declare me dead. I declared myself unforgettable. And that, sweetheart, is a resurrection no piece of paper can ever undo. If this story reached into your chest and squeezed, do me a favor. Share it. Because somewhere right now there's an old woman in a back bedroom or a nursing home hallway who's being counted out before her time. Remind her she still has a pulse. Remind her the grave doesn't get the last word unless she hands it over. And if you ever doubt your own strength, touch your wrist. Feel that stubborn beat. That's your proof. You are not finished. Not yet. Not ever. This is Grandma Ruth, signing off from the porch that still belongs to me. Keep fighting, keep loving, and whatever you do, don't let them bury you before you're done living.